After a lot of layers and adjustments, I'm finally at the last stage of this self-portrait sketch. Getting to the final stage of an oil painting takes a lot of small, important steps, and today I wanted to share one that makes a huge difference but is often overlooked. It is a technique called a couch, and it's actually been used for centuries to help artists achieve smoother blending, richer colors, and a flawless finish. So if you've ever been struggling with patchy blending or dry, unworkable areas in oil painting, you may want to give this technique a try. So what is a couch? Basically, it's a thin layer of oil or medium mixed with a little bit of paint that I apply before adding my final pass of oil paint. Some people confuse it with oiling out, but the key difference is that I'm not just using pure linseed oil or walnut oil or medium. I'm mixing in a small amount of color. In this case, I'm using sepia oil paint, and this helps the fresh paint settle in smoothly, prevents patchiness, and makes blending much easier. The idea of applying a thin oil layer with pigment before painting isn't new. Artists like Titian, Velasquez, and Rubens use similar methods to keep their layers workable and create smooth transitions. While many painters oil out with just oil or medium, adding a small amount of pigment to the couch gives you even more control over the blending and also helps with the color harmony. Harold Speed even discusses a similar technique in The Science and Practice of Oil Painting, where he emphasizes the importance of keeping the surface slightly oiled but not overly slick. The main idea is to keep the surface workable while maintaining a color harmony by applying that base tint that the other colors can mix into. A couch not only prevents dry, dull patches, but also allows for incredibly soft blending. And so by using it, I can fine-tune the details in my painting while keeping everything smooth and controlled. So once you start using it, you'll notice how much easier your final layers and your blending becomes. So as you probably noticed here, I actually applied the couch over the entire oil sketch, but you can also apply specific colored couches to specific areas, like applying a high value couch to your light areas and maybe a darker couch to your darker areas. So it's really up to you. You also don't need to wait until the final layers to do a couch. I've seen some artists like Will St. John apply a couch before even starting his first pass. So you just need to make sure that you follow the fat over lean rule for oil paint if you want your paint to be archival. So because I decided to add a darker couch over the entire painting, as you can see, I now have to go in with lighter colors and kind of bring the value up on the portion of my face that is in the light. And you can see under the chin, I added some bounce light coming up from the chest area will bounce light back up to the chin. And this can really help turn forms and make them look more 3D, but you have to be careful not to overdo it. I may have overdone it a small amount, but what can you do? I've mentioned this in my other videos, but you can see I'm applying paint in really short brush strokes, and I'm not really worried about how smooth everything looks. That's because I really do like that textured look, and I think it makes the skin look a lot more like skin and, something that has pores and texture. But once the paint gets tacky, I then start to blend it out using my fan brush, and you can see I'm doing that now. So now it looks a lot more like smoother skin, but I'm being careful not to totally blend away all of that texture that I just made. But by dotting the lighter color paints in the transition areas, that can help make the transition from the light into the shadow really smooth and look really nice. Eyes are always a challenge, but I found that really defining that inner corner of the eye really helps make them look realistic. So I'm trying to be better and more specific about how I define all of the different forms of the eyes. This part was challenging because I'm trying to define the form of the shadow where my eye socket begins, but also imply little eyebrow hairs without making it look too like cartoony, which I think I maybe have a problem with doing, but I think it turned out okay for this painting. Then I wanted to add those specular highlights on the lips, and then bump up those specular highlights on the eyes and the nose as well. And I really had to be careful to not overdo it, so I would add the specular highlights and then kind of blend them out, make them look a bit more diffuse. And in some cases I thought it looked a bit better with them, with the highlights being a bit more diffused out, especially the specular highlight on the bridge of the nose. I think it's really easy to kind of overdo those specular highlights and make things a bit too shiny. And I'm trying to really think about the forms on the forehead. The forehead might seem like it's just a flat surface, but there's a lot of muscle and bone under there that you kind of have to think about. So I'm really trying to keep that in mind when sort of adding the paint to represent the highlights and the shadows on the forehead. So really try to think about the form and all the different nuances of what's going on under the surface, instead of just simplifying it all to just a flat area on the forehead. Now that I've added the finishing touches and rendered a bit more, I think I'm calling this sketch done. Looking back at where it started, I feel like it kind of looks like me a bit more now. What do you guys think? If you want to see any more oil painting process videos, let me know. And if you're confused about any part of the process, let me know and I can talk about that in more detail. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more. Thanks.